All right, guys, welcome into another episode of the Queen City Soccer Show. I am Cole Godfrey, and joined as always by Level Up Luke. Brother, we're recording this an hour and a half after the U.S. lose 2-1 to Panama in Copa America. How you feeling, buddy?
Man, the U.S. We have three L's. First off, and our listeners may not even be aware of this. The tackle football U20 World Championship is going on, and the U.S. was defeated by Japan 41-20. And then we move on to Copa America, where the U.S. goes down to 10 men, loses 2-1 to Panama. A very underhanded CONCACAF game. We got CONCACAF right up the keister. Now, when I got home and put the kids to bed, I turned on this presidential debate, and I have no hope for the Copa America. And I gotta say, man, the country is looking pretty shaky as a whole.
Yeah, it was an infuriating match to watch. Just a quick skim through. Tim Weah gets red card in the 18th minute for. It was kind of hard to see. Almost looked like he maybe shoved a guy's face, punched him in the face, whatever. He was dude. Look, man, this is how CONCACAF goes. We know this. When you're the inferior opponent, you try to rattle the other players. You try to get under their skin, and it worked. Tim Weah took the bait and go down to 10 men in the 18th minute. And then just a few minutes later, Balogun with a phenomenal goal, world class goal. And then 5 minutes later, you give up the equalizer. And then in the second half, the substitutions, the formation, the tactics, everything that Greg Berhalter did in that second half made zero sense to me.
Right.
Our friend of the show, Lynn Cornecchia, he posted on Twitter, I get the fact that you're down to 10 men, and so you're going to have to defend a little more. It comes with the territory. That is what it is. But make no mistake, you have significant more talent on your team. There is, yes, you play a little bit more defensive, but you still attack. And we just sat in that low block and bunkered down and tried to hit on the counterattack against Panama. Vince, if you're listening from USMNT Thoughts, I love you to death, and I know you're a Pepe, guy, and I like Ricardo Pepe. But just an absolutely atrocious miss in the second half when he came on for Balogun. The worst substitution was you took off Balogun. He was your best player on the field. He was the most dangerous player on the field. He was defending phenomenally as a striker, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling how this guy is still the coach. It's mind-boggling how Yunus Musa did not see the field at all in a game where you were down to 10 men, and he is one of your best, if not the best, defensive midfielder on your team. And then I'm so done with this, and you have to go out and you have to beat Uruguay on Monday. They're winning right now against Bolivia 2-0. Hopefully Uruguay rotates their side a little bit, but in the FIFA rankings, I posted this on Twitter, United States is ranked 11th, Uruguay is 14th. So technically, you're probably the favorites in this match. But you have to go out there and win in Kansas City on Monday, or you're going to get grouped. Look, man, this team could go out there and beat Uruguay 2-3-0. It definitely could happen. There's the talent on the field, and they're going to be playing with a fire under them, so that's a possibility. But there's also a real factor where they get beat and they get grouped, and here we're sitting at home watching the knockout stages in America without us in it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there were a few critical moments in this game. I think you can look at the Weston McKennie goal early on that was called back by VAR. I think you can look at the red card for Tim Weah, which looked really soft to me. It looks like he went for a push, and the Panama player started to duck down, and Weah's hand hit his back and slid up to his head. In real time, I didn't see anything. It looked like the Panama player dived. And then on the replay from a different angle, you can see his arm does go up towards the head and neck region. It was soft. Regardless of what it was very soft. And for them to go back on VAR in the 18th minute and upgrade the yellow to a flagrant red for contact to the head, when just a few days ago, you had a Peru player headbutt a Canadian player with no consequence. I mean, you have to question whether these South American refs are biased against North American countries like the US and Canada. A clear and obvious headbutt in the Canada game from Peru goes unpunished, while a questionable contact with the head, I'm not going to call it a punch, even though in slow motion it has kind of the movement of a punch. It looks like it was an open-handed push that just went high on the Panama player, but that gets into a red. Highly questionable. Florian Balogun with that absolute banger that was the definition of top end 90, right? A Golazo, a Worldy. I mean, that was stupid what he did. Bounced it off the top corner, inside net. Like, what are we doing here? He tried to do it again in the second half. He had a really low angle shot that he tried to just bend inside. And it had a little bit of bend on it, but it needed significantly more. The dude is getting looks. He's finding angles that most players would not be able to. So I'm happy with Balogun. I thought he had a good performance. And then Berhalter takes him out of the game, and the dude still has gas in the tank. He literally just took that shot I was talking about, like an absolute class low angle shot that most strikers would not be able to pull off, and he fired it. And
Yeah,
Berhalter's response was to take him off the field. I don't
yeah.
get it. Like, make it make sense.
You can't. And not to mention that just moments before that red card, Matt Turner is absolutely football tackled and has to come out
Oh,
and has to leave the game
yeah,
at halftime. No consequence, no yellow card, not even nothing. I mean, nothing was given. And then
yeah.
the red card at the very end of the game where the Panamanian player absolutely hacks Christian Pulisic, dude. Just, I mean, ridiculous
Yeah.
intent on that. The referee was absolutely atrocious, man, and I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't at least touch on it and give our opinion.
Let me ask you,
Um,
because was that 4 or 5 VAR checks? I have never seen so many VAR checks in one game.
yeah,
I
dude,
have
yeah,
not seen it.
think about what you just said. In the second half alone, okay,
Yeah,
and there was 4 minutes of added time.
4 minutes of at a time. Friend of the pod, Jamie Smith, said, "What is going on? What is this embarrassment? 4 minutes of at a time. It should be at least 10." And
Yeah,
I think I retweeted and just said, "Hey, buddy, welcome to Concacaf." I mean,
dude.
we got Concacaf so hard in this game.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, now you have an uphill battle. You have to beat Uruguay. I mean, if you draw Uruguay, Panama more than likely is going to beat Bolivia. So
I don't know. I
realistically,
mean, I think they can, but how about this? How about this for a statistic? 19 fouls to 4. Panama had 19 fouls. We had 4 in this game.
yeah,
And that includes the straight red in the 18th minute, which was one of 4 fouls that we committed in the game. And they had 19. And they didn't get a
yeah,
red card. They didn't really start to get punished until the mid 80s, like probably the 85th minute is when the ref
yeah.
started like giving them yellow cards. Absolutely absurd. Panama plays dirty. We know that because we play them in CONCACAF all the time. They have a reputation for playing dirty. We seem to have a hard time with them because as the US, we're never going to get the calls. That's just part of the deal when the US plays soccer. Is in the World Cup, in CONCACAF, in Confederations Cup, in Copa America, we're never going to get the calls from international refs. It just, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Well, let's move on to something positive, man. How about what do you say?
Well, hey, the positive is when we do crash out of the group stage, there can't be anybody left defending Greg Berhalter.
Dude, I just have a horrible feeling that I don't have any trust in this federation, man. I could see us getting grouped and they'll be like, no, we're not making a change right before 2 years before the World Cup, and
Ugh.
This episode of the Queen City Soccer Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. The summer is heating up, and so are all of your favorite events, whether that is soccer or baseball or concerts, you name it. SeatGeek has you covered. Ready to check out Copa America this summer? Go to SeatGeek.com and enter the promo code QCSPod at checkout for $20 off your ticket. SeatGeek.com, promo code QCSPod. Queen City Soccer Show is also brought to you by Level Up Home Consultants. When you are ready to level up your home, visit leveluphc.com. That's leveluphc.com. School's going to be starting up soon, and if you want to upsize, downsize, maybe you're going through a major life change like a marriage or a divorce, maybe you need to relocate. Maybe you're going to be moving to Charlotte, and you're using this podcast to help you learn about our soccer culture. But more importantly, you need to find somewhere to live. Charlotte is filling up. We have 30, 35 people per day moving to Charlotte. So it's more important than ever to work with a trusted expert, somebody who knows the market, who can get you the best deal and help you find the perfect next home. Reach out now for a free market analysis to sell your home and to get a home buying game plan together. Every home buying journey is different. Contact Level Up Home Consultants today for your free consultation. A portion of the proceeds from any real estate transaction will go to nonprofit youth soccer causes in the Carolinas when you mention QCS Pod. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Level Up Home Consultants. Hashtag Level Up Your Home.
Let's move on and just tell the folks a little bit about us. We are the Queen City Soccer Show. You can find us on social media at QCS Pod. You would love it if you would give us a follow. If you would go on your podcast provider of choice, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. Give us a little review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps other folks find us. If you like this episode, or if you go back into our catalog and listen to our exclusive interviews or our deep dives on certain topics or our spotlights on the Charlotte soccer community, share those in your feed with your family and friends. We want to get more folks actively involved in the Queen City Soccer Show community. So, like I said, it's at QCS Pod on Twitter. It's probably where we're most active. And I'm Level Up Luke at LVLUP_Luke. This is my partner, Cole Godfrey at Cole_Godfrey. We like to spotlight the Charlotte soccer community. It's also about soccer in the Carolinas. And this time of year, man, it's soccer around the world is what it seems like. We got the Euros. We got Copa, we got MLS, which is not taking an international break. There is soccer everywhere you look. We have international friendlies coming to the Carolinas. We got the soccer tournament. We got USL action going on. The Jägermeister Cup is back tomorrow for USL 1. Tell me, Cole, is this the busiest for soccer that you've ever seen in your life, or is it just me?
No, if you're right. I mean, just coming off of the back of the TST tournament as well, it's a great thing. I mean, if you're a soccer fan, you are definitely in heaven right now, because when the round of 16 gets started for the Euros on Saturday, it'll be soccer all day, and it'll be MLS all night and Copa America all night, and then it just keeps repeating, rinse and repeat, and you cannot complain about it at all. Charlotte FC goes up to Philadelphia, gets a 2-0 win. So something positive for us to talk about on today's episode.
Yeah.
It's not all doom and gloom here. Charlotte FC go up there, keep another clean sheet, Luke. Big Pat with a brace. Ben Bender with a start. We're looking good. We're 4th in the East. There's nothing to complain about with this team right now, man.
Yeah, I like Benji Bender. I thought he was the no-brainer. I told you guys last week I had BB13 and BB15 in my projected starting lineup, so I love to see it. And I think he proved us right. I thought he had a really good performance. When we talk about the Philadelphia game, I mean, the first 20 minutes were pretty rough. Christian Kalina was doing some Christian Kalina things that, we hoped he'd gotten out of his system. Kind of slow playing, being lackadaisical, playing the ball out a little bit, not checking. What do you guys say in the military, right? Doors and corners? He's not checking his doors and corners. So he almost gets his pocket picked, and Philly shoots a little goal in, and luckily Malanda tracks back, saves it at the goal line. We don't need the goal line technology. It's right there. It's a close one. But after that, I mean, it was mostly all Charlotte. Agyemang gets the brace, and to me, just jumping ahead, I think it was the best performance of the year after that first 20 minutes. I think it was the second half of that game was the best half of soccer I've seen from this team. It was almost a complete game. To me, that's getting up towards a really impressive rating. I think you can see Dean Smith's style. It's developing from the defensive line and that strong backbone that he wants to build, and it's really starting to flourish into a total game of domination against a fairly quality opponent in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and, running through the timeline of things here really quickly, obviously the first half, like you said, the first 20 minutes were very shaky for Charlotte, specifically out of the back with Christian Kalina, his mishaps. He had 2 of them. And then, going into halftime, it was, a 0-0 game, but it was kind of back and forth in that first half. Charlotte probably had the momentum the last, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes of the half. But you come out in the second half, and I don't know what Dino said to these boys at halftime, but it was ramped up immediately, and Charlotte dominated this second half. And if you've been listening to this show for a long time, I am definitely more critical, but there's nothing to be critical about on this second half, man. Charlotte FC just took it straight to them, and in the 56th minute, Yeri Ronan gets the ball down the left wing and puts the ball in, and it's a diving header from Big Pat that careens off of the underneath of the bar and goes in, and you're up 1-0. And realistically, at that point, Luke, I thought that. And real quick, I just want to, last season we know what happened with the 23 drop points and from leading positions, but that's gone now. So as soon as that goal went in, I was like, "Oh, we're winning. It's over." Well, I don't. We might win 1-0, but we're winning. And 8 minutes later, the ball comes to Patrick again from Leo Labata, and he does his little dance, makes a little love, and he gets down in the box, and just a beautiful strike, and he gets his brace, and you're up 2-0.
Yeah, Agyemang with goal of the week according to MLS. So you love to see it, but somehow he was left off of the MLS Team of the Match Day roster. Him and Kalina were both on the Team of the Match Day bench. Okay, fine. Once again, I mean, I've been harping on this all season. We're not a quote unquote known commodity or a quote unquote brand like your LAFCs. And as of lately, I guess your Cincinnati's and your Columbuses. So we're not going to get the appreciation, but our team just keeps their head down. They keep grinding. And that's why it's up to us, the loudmouths on social media, to say something about it. Finally, some MLS commentators are starting to jump on the bandwagon until I dropped the screenshot of them saying we're going to finish 13th in the East, and then they get real quiet. So, you know what? It's fine, man. Welcome to the bandwagon. I'm glad you're here now. Sasha Kletchen and Andrew Wiebe, and, Tom Bogert's been here the whole time. So Tommy Scoops, nothing but love and respect, baby. He's always been on the Charlotte side. He's been realistic about it, but he's always appreciated the strengths that we do have. When these other guys are now all of a sudden talking about us as if we're, such a good team and they've always liked us, it's like, all right, calm down. Just, be real with us. You can say you've come around on us lately, but don't act like you've always been here in our corner.
Yeah, and in their defense, this is the same team from last season, man. So, I don't, and coming into this season, it's the same team with a new coach. So I could see how you pick Charlotte to be, where they were last season, 9th, 10th, maybe even 11th or 12th. So definitely when you don't follow this team as closely as we do. So, I mean, I kind of get it. But as soon as you've seen this back line take those strides forward early this season, you should have known, man, this is a different team. I said that Dean needs a knighthood for what he's done for this back line. We've talked about this multiple times, how good this back line is, obviously, with the 8 clean sheets, I think 9 clean sheets now. Is it a testament to Dean? Do you give all the credit to Dean? Or was this just how bad of a coach Christian Lattanzio was?
Little column A, little column B, and I'll go with column C here. You do, Cole, you do have to give Lattanzio some credit. He put Privet in that CB role. He switched his position, and that has made all the difference combined with Dean's play style. So the root of what created this formation was really with those pieces from last year, the weird tinkering that Lattanzio did. There were some little seeds in there that Dean has watered and developed into fully blooming trees. And we're seeing that with the strong trunk of the tree. That's our back line, right? That's Malanda and Privet. Privet's the Terminator. Malanda's the protege. He's the up-and-comer who's going to, be a record sale for Charlotte FC at some point because, once he grows and develops into that mighty oak tree in the back line, there's no stopping him. I mean, there's no getting past him. He's an absolute beast. But Yoronen, that acquisition by the front office last year, he is just game in and game out a baller. And then Nathan Byrne, comeback player of the year, in my opinion. Nathan Byrne, I said on the spaces after the game, he was running like a demon, like a bat out of hell at the end of that Philadelphia game. My goodness, from the 85th minute on, if I could bottle up some of that energy, I could make billions selling that. I want that in my veins, brother. that Nathan Byrne energy. Give me that stuff. So our back line is incredible. I think they're doing some great work. And I think Dean, I don't know about a knighthood, but I think the Charlotte FC, their social media team put out there, I think he needs to open a vineyard because that's the only way he can keep up with the number of wine bottles he has to get for these boys after 9 clean sheets. MLS leading 9 clean sheets. Are you kidding me? Yeah, man. Dean, the winemaker, is what I see in his future.
Yeah, obviously the back line played lights out once again, but for the first time in a minute, as an attacking whole, this team looked really, really good. Patrick Agyemang with an 8.9 on Foot Mob, Lil Abada with an 8, Kerwin with a 7.4, and Ben with a 7.2. And dude, realistically, man, I think Ben was the factor in that, dude, because his link up play with Liel, his link up play with Vargas and Pat, and and getting when Ashley and Brant would get forward. As I've said this, and I said it on the spaces after the match, good things happen when Ben's on the field. I know, there's people that have thoughts on Ben, but I like having been there. I still think this team needs to go out and get a proven number 10 in the transfer window. But I think that Ben, he was pulling strings like a tampon thief. Excuse the expression, but it's the only thing that comes to mind. He was phenomenal out there. And, so
Okay.
I think this is I think this was a great performance by Ben. He only played a 7.2 on Foot Mob, but the statistics that wasn't shown, man, was just his vision, his creativity. Liel had a phenomenal game. Ashley Westwood, the 7.8. But here's the thing, man. Ashley Westwood gets a yellow card, a silly yellow card at the very end of the game when the game was won. And whether you think it was a yellow or not, I don't think it was personally, but he was given a yellow and he put himself in a bad position to be given a yellow. And now he's out against Houston this Saturday down in Houston, who is playing good ball right now for a yellow card accumulation.
Man, our captain has been sitting on the edge of that yellow card accumulation for what feels like half of the season so far. He got up to 4. He went 5 games without, knocked it back down to 3 yellow cards from basically a good behavior credit. He got his 4th, and he's been riding on that 4th one, and we've just been kind of watching and waiting because Westy has that fire in him, and sometimes he gets a little carried away. I'm going to be honest; it's not great from your captain, the guy who's supposed to be the leader, and he can't hold his emotions in check at the end of a game and just let it go. So it's not a great look. I'm going to be honest, but we love Westy. He's gracious. He is such a leader, and the impact that his fire and his passion have on the team cannot be understated, right? You see a young guy like Privet, and he was talking in an interview with our friends with the Charlotte Soccer Show, and he said, "Yeah, I had a bet with Privs about which one of us would miss a game first because they both played every minute of every game this season, and apparently Privet won that bet. So I'm wondering what the wager was. Ashley Westwood has that fire. Privet, you can see he's learning from the older guys, the veteran players like Westy, and Privet is sticking up for his teammates and getting in their face. He's not the biggest guy, but you got Bronico in there, you got Urso, Byrne with that fire and passion, like that England gang over there with Westwood and Byrne. It's rubbing off. Like Westwood's leadership is infectious in the best way possible. Yeah, I think your captain needs to be smarter. He needs to keep his head about him. But at the same time, I don't want him to play without that fire. So I'll take it. I'll take the 1 game off. Let him take a rest. He has the second most distance covered of any MLS player this year. Yeah, let him have the day off. Give him a little break.
Yeah, and Junior Urso and Gianni and Bronico and Ben Bender, we're gonna miss Ashley. Don't get it wrong, but at least he'll get a week because we come back right next in July 3rd, that Wednesday, right after Houston, and we're back at home at it again against Inter Miami, who's top of the table in the East. So I would rather have him well rested for that, to be completely honest with you. But hey, Luke, who would you give your crown of the day award for this match, other than Patrick? Because Patrick obviously is the deserving one.
Yeah, Pat. Normally, I don't like to go with the guy that is the most obvious choice. Like everybody knows they had a great game, but this one, I mean, I really would give it to Pat. Like he's my number one and only choice for this because Ajman needed this. He was kind of riding a little bit of a slump on the goal scoring, especially away from home. I think he only had 1 goal away from home so far this season. So for him to go on the road to Philadelphia, of all places, and score a brace, I think is massive. And it puts him right into the conversation where he is on pace with Karol Swiderski, basically in both years of Karol Swiderski, as a number 9, and he's getting paid 10% of the salary of the salary cap cost, not the total salary. But because he was a DP, he was capped at about 700,000, and Pat's getting paid about 70,000. So 1/10 of the roster hit, and the same production, 5 goals and 3 assists through 17 games, I believe. So,
Yeah.
or 19 games maybe. But regardless, Agyemang is my one and only crown of the day. Everybody had a great game. We were talking on the spaces after the game, and it's like, who are your top 3 players of the game? And we listed everybody who went out there for Charlotte FC. Like, they're all amazing. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at any choice, but who's your crown of the day?
I'm just to be a little different. I'm going to go with Abada. He comes off with an assist, but he was also very, very dangerous going forward and had 3 shots. The dude was absolutely incredible, lively every time he touched the ball. He had this is what's telling to me. So you have Leo Labata on the right wing, Kai Wagner, who is arguably the best defender for Philadelphia as their left back. This is what's telling. Leo Labata has an 8.0. Kai Wagner played a 5.9. Leo Labata was on him like white on rice and had a phenomenal match. So I'll give mine to Leo. Reality, it would go to Big Pat, but just to be a little different. But Luke, we do got Houston Dynamo coming up 8:30 Eastern, so not normal 7:30 start time this Saturday down in Houston, Texas. Then we come back home to the bank next Wednesday, July 3rd, to host Inter Miami. Everybody, don't get all twisted up. Messi will not be with them. Obviously, he'll be playing with Argentina. So, just keep that in mind when you're buying your tickets. If somebody's selling tickets for $400, keep in mind it ain't worth it. Messi's not going to be there. So yeah, and then obviously we got some pretty big news to talk about, Luke. And when I say that, I'm talking about a Polish guy who was here for our first 2 seasons, who was our talisman. I know you have thoughts on him, Luke, but Dean Smith says July 4th he'll be back in the building. What do you think about Karol Swiderski coming back?
What do I think about Karol Swiderski coming back? Well, there are a lot of memes, just instant memes coming out of this debate. So I'm sure one of the many Joe Biden expressions that are becoming instant memes would describe my reaction when I woke up, and the first thing I saw when I opened my phone was a top in 90 report that Karol Swiderski was coming back to Charlotte FC. Dude, I'm still laying in bed. I open my phone. I pull up, I think it was actually Facebook, shockingly, the first time in human history that somebody got breaking news from Facebook. But yeah, I saw that top in 90 post and I was like, good Lord, there's no way. But it had all the details and I was like, oh yeah, this lines up with what I understood to have been the worst case scenario. Um, so yeah, Carroll is officially at the end of his loan on June 30th. He will be rejoining the team as Poland has crashed out of the Euros, and he did earn a penalty kick that Lewandowski took and scored in the Euros, so he was kind of responsible for 1 goal. He's not shown the best form. He's not seen a lot of the pitch for Verona or for Poland, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We saw from Top in 90, actually, just to give them another shout out, that Carroll has stayed in communication with the training staff at Charlotte. He's kept them up to date on his physical conditioning. They've sent over, what they want him to do. So he is up to the Charlotte FC standard in some way, shape, or form, from what I understand. They've been sending him their match day preparations. He's been watching the games. So as far as the Dean style, he should have some level of awareness of it, some level of familiarity. What he does not have are the connections with the locker room, the chemistry. And I know it is a lot of the same players from last year, and they still know him. I'm sure they still like him. But these guys have been playing together for almost 20 games without him. And they've developed a lot of chemistry and connections in a new style of play. Realistically, he's rejoining the team on the 3rd of July, starting training on, I believe, 4th of July, and he will be eligible to play against Austin on the 20th of July. When the transfer window opens, he has to re-register. It's called an ITC registration. So that has to go through, and because of the situation where he was re-registered in Italy, he's coming back to re-register in the U.S. Even though he's on our active roster, he still has to register in the U.S. So that ITC has to get filed after the transfer window opens. That's my understanding, and that would be July 18th, which would make him eligible on July 20th. So he's going to have 2.5 weeks to train with the team, and 2.5 weeks for somebody who already has some level of familiarity with the style of play. I think that should be enough. Everything I've heard from Dean has been Carroll can play striker, midfield, like central attacking midfield, or a winger. He says that every time he's asked. So I think he's viewing Carroll as a utility player because if I'm Dean, he said earlier on, like, these are not my DPs. You have to earn your place on the team. Right now, we need guys who can fill in the holes in the team and fit into certain situations. And that could still help Carroll if he can score a few goals, show his utility, so we can trade him on before the end of the season to Europe again. And I'm sure that's his goal. So I don't love it. But I see how it's working out on paper, and the team is trying to make the best of it. Carroll is trying to make the best of it. Dean is trying to make the best, and Carroll's agent, who did himself and his client no favors over the past 9 months. It looks like he's staying out of it and keeping his mouth shut for once. So that's probably good for everybody. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a bit of a eye opener for Carroll that the grass is not always greener on the other side. He was revered here. Make no mistake. I mean, regardless of his productivity, the Charlotte faithful loved him. My son loves Carroll Swiderski. When I told him that he was coming back, he was literally jumping up and down. And I do think that Carroll could slot into that 10 role like he did the later half of that first season when we had Rios up top and Carroll played in behind him, and we were really good that last month and a half of our first season and made a push to the playoffs. And I think Carroll would be very useful as a 10. I don't think Carroll should come in and start over Pat. I don't think that, and he's definitely not going to come in and start over Kerwin or Liel. So realistically, to me, it's either is he going to be a super sub or is he coming in to play the 10 and Ben's going to be the super sub and and Carroll is the designated player that we have as our 10, and then we go after a proven striker like a Callum Wilson who we've been linked to for a number 9. So I'm okay with it. We need depth, man. The League's Cup coming up, the second half of the season when we're in 4th place, fighting for a home playoff spot. I think it's not a bad thing as long as it does, like you said, as long as it does not disrupt the camaraderie in the locker room. As long as he doesn't come in and expect to be Mr. Charlotte like he was when he was here. So. Again, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think you're getting a quality MLS player. But we'll see. And I'm intrigued to see if that July 3rd match against Inter Miami, if he's there in attendance and they announce it, or how that reaction goes. I'm intrigued to see because it seems like the fan base itself is kind of split on it. Most people, actually, I would say that most people would be happy to have Carroll back, but that you do have a good amount of people who don't want him here just because of the things he said about wanting to be out of Charlotte. And I want to throw this out there too. I don't think that Carroll has an issue with Charlotte. I think Carroll is from Poland. He's from Europe. The bigger leagues are in Europe. He sees a lot of his teammates with the Polish national team playing abroad or playing in Europe in La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Premier League, and he thinks that he is that caliber. Now, for him to go shine in Europe, he would have to find the perfect system for him.
Yeah.
When he come to MLS and be a really good player. So I don't think Carroll ever hated Charlotte. I think it was one of those things where he wanted to be closer to home. He wanted to be back in Europe, and obviously, the way soccer works with contracts and any professional sports, sometimes you don't get what you want, and sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I hope he comes back with a new valued love for this team and is a massive team player and comes in and lights it up, dude. Because if he lights it up, Charlotte FC is continuing to climb the table.
Yeah. Now, I do want to point out that sounds suspiciously like what we said about Enzo at the beginning of the season. If he comes back, if he lights it up, then Charlotte's going to be doing well. So I want him to succeed. It remains true. If he does well, then the team should be doing well also. But I just want to keep a level head about this. I think that Dean is not going to be starstruck by the DP tag and the salary with Karol Swiderski. Like I was pointing out earlier, Patrick Agyemang has the same level of production on paper as Karol at a tenth of the salary hit. Do we need him? No, I don't think we do. But if we're getting him back anyway, then yeah, I think he should see the field. I think that filling in as a cam or a striker or a winger, like whatever we need, I think that's a good move. And I think Dean is going to be pragmatic about it. I'm sure there's been a conversation. I would be shocked if this conversation has not happened where they sat down with Karol and his agent and they said, look, right now, you don't have any other options. You're coming back to Charlotte. You're under contract with us. So you have to fulfill your contract. We will continue looking for another home for you. I know there have been rumors about the Turkish League and other Italian sides. So they're still doing that work. But until that comes through, we need you to be a team player and come back and help out your case, because the better you do here, the easier that transfer is going to be for us to arrange. So
Yep.
It is what it is. Pat has the striker position covered, in my opinion, but Pat also doesn't really, he's not the level where he can play a full 90 right now. So there has to be some kind of a balance.
We need depth. That's the thing, and it's the same thing with Tim Ream being linked here, and everybody. We have Addison Milando, we have Andrew Privet, but after that, you got Bill Tuiloma. I mean,
Right.
realistically, so you need depth. You need depth at the 9. You need depth at the 10. Hell, right now you need a number 10. You just
Yeah.
need one. And I trust Dean Smith. Dean Smith has not shown me anything in this season that he's been with Charlotte. He has not shown me anything to doubt him in any way, shape, or form. I may have disagreed on a substitute here or there, but other than that, bro, Dean has been absolutely phenomenal and very, very forthcoming and very upfront about everything when it comes to this team and how decisions are made. So to me, it goes back to Dino I trust, and
Yeah.
I'll let him handle it. And until he shows me otherwise, I'm good with. If Dino says that he's got big plans for Karol, which he did, you know what? I'm going to believe the man.
I like our front office. They're smart, they're level headed, they care about this community, and the moves they've made with the information they haven't always worked out, but I like the approaches. I like that they're willing to change tactics, that they're willing to say, all right, this decision didn't work out, let's move on from it and find a better solution. So I really like that about our front office. They brought in some incredible talent on free agency deals. I mean, guys that we're not buying out from other clubs that we just pick up at the end of their contract period, like Westwood. I mean, we got him on a free transfer. So it's pretty incredible what they've done, just, up and down this roster. And really, I'm thankful that we have Dean Smith, but I appreciate the hell out of that front office for doing a full coaching search, interviewing, at least a dozen candidates that I'm aware of at some level, and working through that process until they found the right fit. And I think every single Charlotte FC fan would agree, Dean Smith is the right fit. And this front office knocked that hiring decision out of the park. So, I mean, I appreciate you guys. And Dean, hey, in Dean I trust. There we go.
Yep, for sure. Charlotte play 8:30 p.m. Saturday down in Houston.
Yeah, man. So actually, it's a doubleheader up here in the Queen City. We got the Charlotte Independents playing in the Jägermeister Cup at 7. So I will be at American Legion Memorial Stadium with our friends the Mech Reserves. So see you guys out there, and then to a watch party for Charlotte FC, probably at Elizabeth Parlor Room with Blue Furia or Hopfly or somewhere else. So 6 Point Saturday is in play. Jägermeister Cup for USL 1 is still underway. Charlotte Independence have a pretty good opportunity here to pick up some more points. And Greenville, I think, is almost a lock to advance to the next round. So Charlotte Independence still with some work to do. Yeah, man, I'm excited. Lots of soccer going on this weekend. And we have some behind the scenes. I think we can probably tease. We can do like a little emoji tweet maybe about some of the developments behind the scenes for us with the QCS pod. But we're working on some things here, some trips, if you will, some additional coverage, some behind the scenes, some interviews. So we have some big stuff planned here. Both you, specialty deal that we're working on in South Carolina, and then both of us in North Carolina with a pro soccer team up here. So
yeah, which I'm looking very much forward to. Just real quick, the Triumph do play this Saturday at home. They'll be playing Lexington at 7 p.m. I will be in Charlotte, back up there for the Inter Miami match to watch Charlotte try to beat the number one team in the East. Obviously, without Luis Suarez and Messi, but I don't care.
Great time to catch them.
Yep, exactly. And then obviously Thursday you got July 4th, so getting to go to the lake and spend it with the fam and watch some fireworks, eat some food that's horrible for you but just tastes delicious. So and consume some cold beverages. I will be attending the Inter Miami match in a media capacity, so I will not be able to partake. So my partaking is going to be Thursday. But I'm looking forward to it, man. Again, Euros going on, Copa America. The USA have got to win on Monday. We'll have Vince back on, and we'll kind of break it all down for you guys. So keep an eye out for that as well, because Vince does a phenomenal job and keeps up with the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah. And quickly, just speaking of the U.S., we have the U.S. women's team Olympic roster that has dropped. What is your thought on Alex Morgan being left out of that selection?
I seen a comment earlier from the great and powerful Lexi Lawless. I know he is a very I know he is
America's favorite commentator.
Yeah, I know he is a very, very controversial person. Don't get me wrong. I actually don't mind Alexi Lawless. I think he's pretty funny. I think he's goofy, and I think some of his takes are very outlandish, which makes it funny to me. But he had a pretty interesting take on this, and I kind of agree with him. Don't hurt me yet, but he was asked about it, and he pretty much said she's not one of the best 18 players in the country anymore, so it's time to move on. I'm not saying that she is on her day not one of the best 18 players, but look, man, it is what it is. Players get older. Look, what was it? It's a young man's game, or it's a young woman's game in this case. So it's just one of those things. I love Alex Morgan. I think she is, one of the best, if not the best, arguably with Abby Wambach and Carly Lloyd as far as what they've done for the women's national team. But at the same time, sometimes it's hard. Saying goodbye is the toughest thing to do, my friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, counterpoint, I think there is some value with bringing veterans for their leadership, their experience, their mentorship to a major event like this. And specifically, what comes to mind is Tim Ream and John Brooks for the U.S. men's national team before the last World Cup, and how Greg Berhalter has issues with some of the players. This is a new coach in Emma Hayes, and I'm very, very excited about the Hayes era with the U.S. WNT. I'm very optimistic about our chances in the Olympics. We've talked on the pod before. I think the rest of the world has caught up to the U.S. I still think that we can win this tournament and the World Cups in the future, but it's going to take a radically new style, new development, and just a new outlook. So I think that Emma Hayes is the right choice for the women's national team. And I think her leaving Alex Morgan off sends a very clear message that the previous era is over and it's a fresh start for everybody. You have to earn your spot on the team. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, Emma is, she's coming into this, and honestly, it's how I would be as a coach too, man. Like, I understand what Alex Morgan has done over this past 14 years. But at the same time, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm representing this country definitely as a coach. I want to win. And I'm gonna base it off of form. I'm gonna base it off of what you're doing right now. And Hayes literally said in a conference today that she stressed how difficult it was to only select 16 outfield players for the roster, and she praised Morgan as a person, a player, but she was taking this as who was the best in this camp, and it just is what you got. Sophia Smith, you got Jaden Shaw, who's 19 years old but absolutely electric. Um, you got Mallory Swanson, obviously Trinity Rodman. So this is a very very stacked young team, and I get what you're saying, and I agree with you as far as having that veteran presence. But at the same time, it's kind of it's a new regime, man. Things happen, and you got to kind of see how it plays out. Now, if they go to the Olympics and they can't score and they're having trouble creating and stuff like that, then it's going to be the time to be like, okay, well, why did you leave Alex Morgan at home? But if they go out there and they're scoring three to five goals a game, and they go out there and win Olympic gold or Olympic silver, it's going to be like, okay, well, she knew what she was talking about.
So, moving on, I agree with you on that one, but moving on, the Carolina Ascent, the new USL Super League women's pro team in Charlotte, which is starting up in August, is scheduled to have their kit reveal party in the next few weeks here. So we'll get to see their new merch, and they've been killing it on the branding and the logos and the graphics. So I have very high expectations for this USL Super League Carolina Ascent, the new kit that they're unveiling. So I'm very excited about that. Our friend Carolina Reaper is all about the Ascent. He shared with me some of their plans as far as the supporter section. I believe they're going to call the supporter section the Summit.
That's awesome.
It's the Ascent and is the team, and after the game, the player of the match will come up to the Summit, where they will get their player of the match award with the supporters. So it sounds very clever. I like the idea. I think it's all coming together, and I do know they're planning a sellout crowd for that opening game. It's actually going to be the opening game of USL Super League. It's going to be at American Legion Memorial Stadium, likely over 10,000 in attendance. So definitely get your tickets, get your season tickets if you have not already. You will have to be there. It's going to be quite an event. They're looking to set the women's record and take that away from the Courage, the NC Courage, up in Cary. So it's a very exciting time to be a soccer fan in Charlotte. I do have some breaking news. Are we allowed to do breaking news, Cole?
Let's do it.
All right, man. So I have been in communication with sources, and my sources have told me that Football Manager, the video game Football Manager, is going to be introducing women's teams and women's leagues into the game for the 2025 edition. So Football Manager adding women's leagues. The USL is currently looking into licensing the USL Super League for video games, including Football Manager. As far as the men's USL Championship, USL 1 and 2, they currently have an exclusive licensing deal with Konami eFootball 24. So they are prohibited from using their licensing for EAFC. So if you've ever wondered why you can't play as your favorite USL team, it's because there's an exclusive licensing deal with Konami. However, that may not preclude Football Manager. It may only be a simulation playing game. It may not be a Football Manager type simulation game. So there is a possibility that USL could license their product to Football Manager, and that is breaking news exclusive to the Queen City Soccer Show.
Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be dope. I'm a Football Manager fan. I've played it a lot. It has consumed many hours of my life. That's pretty awesome.
We'll update that story as I'm able to dig out a little bit more information. But look at me doing a little bit of journalism.
Look at you. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought?
Not me. Not me.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, before we hop out of here, Luke, I just want to kind of give a shout out to some of the Charlotte FC fans who always stick with us in the spaces, and the likes of Lynn Carnecchia, Joe Garcia, Ash, and Kyle. Like some of these people, they are a ride or die, and I just want to say, man, it does not go unnoticed. We really, really appreciate y'all. We appreciate everyone that tunes into these podcasts. Y'all are why we do this. We love getting to engage with you guys. Burl, I know you're listening, man. It was great to see you 2 weekends ago up in Charlotte. Got to meet my wife and stuff. Like, that's the stuff I love to do. I love to see it, and it does not go unnoticed. And if you love this podcast, you like this podcast, or if you just think we're a bunch of goofballs, regardless, go out there and subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us, review us on your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends, and from a little birdie, gonna be some merch drop soon, so keep an eye out for that as well.
All right, let's go. I think I am planning to do a Spaces after the Houston game, so stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter at LVLUP_Luke, and join that Spaces when I go live on there. Jump on, request to speak. I'll pull you up there. You can talk with me if Cole's able to make it, and then our regular cast of MVPs. Also, shout out while we're talking about to Soccer Sheet and Queen's Pitch. They are super active on the post-game Twitter Spaces, and I appreciate their insight. They're able to attend a lot more of the press conferences than I am, so I always love getting their insider opinions and sharing that with our listeners.
Yeah, 100%.
It's getting pretty late over here, and we have a lot of soccer coming up this weekend.
Yeah, man, that's it for me. For God's sakes, U.S., pull it together Monday and beat Uruguay.
Hey, Cole, I believe. Let's go for the crown, baby.
Together we triumph and up the Jacks. We'll see y'all next time on another episode of the Queen City Soccer Show.